Hi, and welcome to Your Truth Explored, the podcast where we unpack your truths to bring clarity, understanding, and insight into what lies ahead. My name is Rodney Reynders. Today we have the absolute privilege of spending some time with David Westgate. David worked in advertising for 35 years, all while suffering from the roller coaster-like mental illness known as bipolar. He is now a facilitator for Lifeline, master mental health first aid trainer, and spent a decade as a keynote speaker for Black Dog Institute. David has worked with organizations such as the New South Wales Law Society, Goldman Sachs, UBS, Allens, Glencore, Shell, and even the Friends and Family of Missing People Police Unit. He served in the mental health action groups for Australia and brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to this discussion. Well, David, welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Rod.
I wonder if you could take us back to the moment where, yes, I got some challenges, but these challenges don't define me. They might well be a platform. Take me back to that moment.
Yeah, look, Rodney, I think with the mental illness and especially slightly more difficult ones such as bipolar or even worse still schizophrenia, that sort of thing, it can be very hard to look back on things and go, that was the time. And partly because with mental illness, a lot of it is depression. And with people who suffer from severe depression, it's very hard to make memories. It's hard. It's hard to remember. Your wife says, "Look, go up the shops and buy some bread and milk." It's hard enough to remember that. But when you're casting your mind back, it's very hard to find accurate things and go, "Aha!" And it's interesting because I've had times when I've been talking with my wife and go, "Oh, blah blah." I distinctly remember that, and she, who's had fantastic mental health all her life, goes, no, 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 that's not how it was whatsoever. And I've recreated my life. But in terms of just straight out physical moment for me, the moment that I remember most was when I finally went along and saw my doctor and this is at the age of 48 and going, I can't handle this anymore. It's beyond me. I really, really need help. And that starting the chain reaction of a psychiatrist, psychologist, medication, all that sort of stuff. Um, but that was a long time to live uh, with just sort of thinking, yeah, I can get by, I can get by, I can handle this myself.
Hmm. And so once you make that then decision to go, okay, right, let's follow the process. Is it in your mind? Is it a voice of growth? Is it a voice of failure? What is the voice that then says, oh, there's this new process ahead of me?
For me, being quite honest, I think it was a voice of survival
Yeah.
more than anything. Because unfortunately, for a lot of people, when they're diagnosed, it's only just the beginning.
Yeah.
It's not like being diagnosed. Doctor says, "Oh, you've got influenza A, but
Yeah.
you'll be all right in a month or so."
Yeah.
With this, it's very much the start of experimentation with medication, psychologists, all that sort of stuff. It's very much like, two steps forward, one step back. So I think at the time I was pleased to go, I've got some sort of definition of what it is that affects me. I think I had I think at first I was shocked to think, oh, wow, I'm mentally ill and here I am at a psychiatrist and all this sort of stuff because you go through all that classic, I'm weak, I'm useless. Um, but I think ultimately I sort of went, all right, well, I'm on some sort of path. And it was a very long path with a lot of potholes and detours. That said, as of about probably 5 or 6 years ago, it seemed that all the pieces came into play, all joined up beautifully, and I sort of suddenly went, "Oh, so this is what good old-fashioned normality feels like."
Yeah.
And I say there was no defining moment of going, my mind's flipped from this to that. My mind was muddy, dirty, uh, but bit by bit, with great support from a wonderful wife, good family, some really close friends, and some really good professional help. It was a gradual process that finally I went, oh, okay, that trip was well worth it. That was really worth the effort.
So may I ask now if you're sitting this side of the storyline and you go, okay, so that trip was well worth it, and you look back at the David, what is the message you give that David for every listener that's listening that might be David at this stage?
I, for example, suffered from really severe depression for most of my life, as long as I could really remember. And I actually thought, but at the times, I obviously experienced manic episodes, but they felt so good. And I used to think to myself, oh, this is happiness. This is what all the fuss is about, happiness. Yeah, I get it. I love it. Um, but what I should have been doing way, way, way back is having consulted help. And and I would say to people listening, what I did do, and probably the most stupid thing in my life, is my aunt urged me to see a psychiatrist, which I did at about the age of, I don't know, 26, 28. And it was such to me, I was so disillusioned with the experience. I felt so uncomfortable in it. And the guy didn't do a great deal to sort of make me feel any less uncomfortable. But I walked out of there after one session and went, this is useless. I'm better off handling my mental health myself.
Yeah.
And that's as a young, stupid, macho male going, yeah, this is all right. Whereas what I've learnt over the years is what I should have been doing is going, that didn't work. Maybe that wasn't a good connection. Maybe there's somebody else that's better to talk to. Because I reckon I've got an analogy, but I think finding good professional health connections, whether that be psychologists or psychiatrists or surgeons or whatever, not just in mental illness, but it's a little bit like online dating. You'll sit down with her and you go, I do not have a connection whatsoever with this person, but that doesn't mean, therefore, I should give this away. It doesn't mean that psychology or psychiatry or whatever, it doesn't work. It just means it doesn't work in this situation. And I need to move on to
Yeah.
find someone who would work with me.
Yeah.
And and I think that's, I mean, you're a young man, you've got no experience, you've got no benchmarks of these things. And you just walk out, yeah, oh, I'll handle this myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and that's a great conversation. Just that conversation where, mental health, it's not a one fix for everybody. I might be great with personality A, but I'm terrible with personality B. And that's not because there's anything good or bad about me or person A or B. It's just we're genetically wired differently.
That's exactly it. It doesn't mean that that person is not good at what they do. It
Yeah,
just simply means you don't have a connection. And I have read, they say about 80% of the effect that you get from seeing a psychologist, for example, comes from feeling comfortable to sit and talk.
that's right.
And if you don't feel like that, the other 20% is never going to happen.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. And so now, David, so you've got yourself past this line and you sort of look at life and go, okay, so this is what feeling normal feels like. And then what takes you from that point to a flourishing point?
Oh, I think normality. Um, Bipolar is a combination of depression, um, normal periods of life, and manic episodes, which are like getting aboard a Saturn V rocket. And I think what happens when you finally level, and that's all the medications, I'm on a lot of medication. I'm not a poster boy for pills because there's a lot of people that don't need medication for certain mental illnesses.
Yeah,
But I do, and I'm happy to have it. But being like that just allows you to live a normal life. It allows you to go, right, I'm going to be doing this. It allows you to set goals and say, okay, knowing full well that you go, I can plan for something for August and going, yeah, I can build to get there for this particular thing. Whereas before you went, I've got no idea. It's
Mm.
just going, it literally is to a degree living day by day.
Mm.
But once you, and I think it's something because if you say to people, "Oh, good old normality is fantastic," people that don't suffer from mental illnesses and probably live quite normal lives go, "Oh,
I'm
if only
okay.
things were more exciting."
That's right. But then, so it's also, I mean, so if me looking from the sideline now, and I'm happy to be wrong, but if I look at your influence, and even just I'm a big fan of your coasters. So that's somebody that's gonna got to go beyond normality to make an impact.
Hmm.
And so what were those things what were the stories in your head that you had to rewrite? Okay, so David, I can do normal, but I can also do impact. I can also add. I can bring value.
Ah, okay. I think that's just a lovely meaning of. I worked in advertising, so and I worked in creative, so I'm pardon the arrogance, but I'm a good writer. I have good creative ideas. I know how to market things. So I felt like with those particular cases you're talking about, I've got the lived experience. I've got the experience to bring them to reality, and also I've done a lot of work for Lifeline and the Black Dog Institute, and been around the country quite a bit, talking to people and training people from a real sort of cross section. And so I think I've got professionally, but also just naturally, an ability to connect with people.
Yeah,
So that for me, like those coasters just became a natural thing. And you went, yep, bang, because
yeah,
they're getting well received.
yeah. That's a fabulous idea. That's brilliant.
Yeah, oh look, it's and people who are getting it, they're going, "Wow, this is really different." And you're going, "Well, people have used coasters before, but they just haven't quite used them like that." But I think for me, that's just a happy combination of factors that fell
Yeah,
into place. And for me, also, like if I do some training sessions for Lifeline, for example, and talk to groups, and you get like good reactions, and you know you connect with people. Um, well, that for me is taking me out of my normality and going, this is really rewarding. This for me is thriving. When you're using that stuff, and I must say, when you talk or you do training and stuff, it's not about yourself. You have to train people about mental health. But that said, I still find it's incredibly therapeutic to be doing that stuff,
yeah,
even though not talking about yourself, but it's therapeutic for you too to go through.
yeah,
I think I've been really, really fortunate that I could transition from one sector to another. It hasn't, I'll never own a Porsche and I will never sail a 70-foot yacht. It hasn't been hugely financially rewarding, but it's been wonderfully rewarding in many
yeah.
other ways.
Yes, that's right. There's somebody listening today, David, and they've got these red flags. They can't really put their finger on it, and they don't know what they really are. Put that sort of mentor, that trainer perspective of David, and speak into that person's life and say, where to from here? What's the trigger?
I think one of the greatest, and this is one of the big things through Lifeline, is getting the ability to get people to talk. Because often people with red flags or whatever, even people from like, in a state of suicidality or whatever, or just with major problems, or the ability to let them talk. Often when people get that and they are genuinely listened to, not somebody just waiting to throw their two bobs, but really somebody listens and goes, tell me a bit more about that. Um, those people with the red flags often find their own solutions
Yeah,
and can go because the one big thing about I know I love doing work for Lifeline, but the one big thing about Lifeline is you don't ring that number and get advice.
yeah,
They don't give you any advice. All they do is sit and listen and encourage you to talk. And from that, people find their own ways and they go, I've sort of worked this out a bit.
yeah,
I think I know my next steps.
Couple of weeks ago, I spent some time with Dr. Tim, and there's an episode from
Oh,
him,
yes,
and
yes.
his comment was, "Communication is the common cold of society," and it just that phrase just stuck with me.
The
And
common goal is,
we're alluding to that again, where it's this value of having that proper conversation with somebody and asking the what questions and the digging a little deeper, which is the key for the person struggling. But I guess my thought process goes then, what is the hurdle that's stopping the person that's not struggling from having those kind of conversations?
ah, oh, that's a great question. And it's, um, oh, I don't want to put my foot in it, or I'm not qualified. Oh, it's going to be embarrassing. And I say psychologists have got praise for this, and it's called bullshit. Because what people are really doing is, and it's very understandable, you're going, oh my God, this is going to be so awkward. What if I make a fool of myself? What if I say the wrong thing? But your sense of awkwardness or embarrassment is nowhere near as big a problem as what that person might be going through. And the ability to, and this is basically in all the trying to do, the ability to go, hey Rod, mate, I hope you don't mind me saying, but you haven't seemed to be quite yourself lately. I don't know, you seem a bit flat, or whatever it may be. You seem very tired or whatever. And just let them respond somehow, even if they don't want to at that stage, but let them know um, is a great way to do it because the reality is if Rodney's feeling like crap, Rodney's probably not going to ring David up and go, mate, I'm feeling like crap.
Yeah, that's right.
So to my mind, it's especially from a male point of view, it's on us to go, I've got a friend, well, I don't know, I just got a gut feel. But I'm just going to say, hey, you don't seem to be quite yourself at the moment. I'm
Yeah,
not going to push them. I'm not going to, but if they want to talk, I'm going to go, mate, I'm all ears. Tell
yeah,
me.
yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I think, and that's the healthy framework. And again, if you're listening as a listener and you go, What am I supposed to do when I have to ask that question?" Basically, you got to just ask the question.
Yeah.
And the person stays the expert on their story because they're the expert of their story.
Precisely. Quite honestly, to my mind, it's a bit like what we're doing at the moment. Somebody runs a good podcast, they don't dominate it. So you're sitting back and you're throwing things to me and you're getting me to talk. That's all you need to be doing in um, these situations is like little, okay. And
That's
if
right.
there's silence, just being comfortable with that.
Mm,
They go, tell me a bit, that must be tough. Or sometimes people just want to sit in silence,
that's right.
or go for a walk and you go, mind if I tag along. That's exceptionally good support as much as,
Yeah,
and the other big thing is, which is a relief for people who do reach out, uh, but is you've got no requirement to fix them.
that's
That's not
right.
your job. I'm not a psychologist. I don't know how to fix people. But I know how to chat to them. I know how to make them feel a bit better by supporting them.
Mm,
If need be, I probably can help them make some suggestions about seeing a GP or whatever. And I think that's one of the things that stops people. They go, if I ask and there's some problem, I'm going to have to fix it. Because we all go, that's your job. You have to fix people's things. And you go,
mm,
no, no, you can't fix them because you don't know how to fix them.
yeah. Or you are fixing it by having the conversation. I think we need to shift the mental goalpost a little bit and go, actually, that's the key, is the conversation.
Exactly. It is. It
Yeah.
is. And
And Lifeline is the evidence of that.
yes. And even if somebody doesn't want, even if you reach out to me and I go, oh, mate, I'm 100% fine, at least you've sort of planted a seed for me. And if I'm
Mm,
not feeling great, you planted a seed. And I know fully well that if in 2 weeks' time or whatever I want to talk to somebody, I can go to you.
yeah, that's
Because
right.
you mentioned it to me. And then you didn't embarrass me by going, come on, mate, don't bullshit me. I
Yeah.
know there's something going on. You just went, oh, okay, all right. And
Yeah.
the ability to do that, and it really is, these are, they seem daunting, but they're very basic conversations.
Yeah. And if I may, I want to pick up on that other statement where you said the awkward silence. Now, I come from a coaching background, and it is absolutely where the gold is,
Yeah,
that awkward
yeah.
moment. And the temptation to want to butt in, always in my mind, I have this mental tally, and I go, I can say something, but I have to take some gold and throw it out the window. So it's enough of a motivator for me to just zip it and wait. And if I can leave you, if you're listening and you're going, well, I have that mate that I ask a question and then he ponders and then I don't know what to do, so I say something. I want to encourage you maybe to not say something, and it may seem awkward, but imagine in your mind the pot of gold, and the minute you speak, you put your hand in and you toss some gold out the window. That's my encouragement to you. Don't do it.
That's it. But that's a brilliant analogy because, and you've got to remember too, it silence feels really awkward. But sometimes if somebody's not well, their brain's not functioning well, they're foggy, mind is working slowly, sometimes they're just thinking.
Yeah.
And sometimes you've got to be able to go, hey, like even to say to somebody, mate, there's no hurry. Don't, and just let them know that there's patience, and you can wait if they're thinking or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I reckon that's the hard one because you're going, I've got to say something really intelligent now.
Yeah, that's right. And you're scheming all these great master responses,
Exactly.
which
Yeah.
which are not very useful, actually.
Well, a friend and I have a great thing. And if we go out for a bite or a coffee or something, um, and the other person's talking about something, and you think, rather than going, oh, I've got to tell you about so you write it down. And we got a piece of paper, and you go, and you go, and that's all you do. So at the end of it, it's like an agenda. And then you go back and go, oh, I really wanted to talk about it. Or, when you said that, I
Yeah,
was thinking this.
yeah,
And it's a great way because it allows you're not interrupting somebody to go, oh, I know that's important, right, Rodney, but
yeah.
blah, blah, blah. It's a really neat way to just do it.
And also, just for information, we gather information at a much larger pace than we can deliver information. So whilst I'm talking to you, your mind's going, "Yep, that's great," but I've got still capacity to more data, so I'm going to think about dinner and I'm going to think about a few other things. Or I really want to tell David that thing. And then if we haven't trained the mind, we then prime the question. And while we're priming the question, we're completely blissfully unaware of what David is saying. So when we dive in, he's like, but I
Yeah.
just sold my soul to you and you've moved
Yeah.
on.
And that's what I get. Well, the other thing too, and this was a real eye opener for me. But again, because lifelong crisis support workers are taught don't bombard people with questions. Don't go, oh, and how long's that been going on? And oh, what was your feeling for that? And blah, and who else knows? Because they said your job is to try and get that person to flow and to talk. And their conversation might go like this and that. But as soon as you start throwing lots of questions at them, you become the interrogator.
Yeah.
No, that's a heavy word for it, but and suddenly, and they'll get to a point. If you ask enough questions, they'll stop their own thoughts and sit and wait for you to go. What's your next question?
Yes.
As opposed to skipping the questions. I mean, you might go, oh, well, tell me more. How does that feel? Like, tell me a bit more about that. But stuff that adds to their trip, their journey, and their stream of consciousness, as opposed to you going and
Yeah.
changing it and getting them all over the place.
David, if I could give you a magic wand and you could use your magic wand to equip management, leadership, commerce with a productive response to mental health and to staff and to relationships, what would you use the magic wand for?
I would have probably every manager, and I actually got this off a manager, and we were talking about all this sort of stuff, and she said, "Oh, see, I got a great way to do all this with my staff, and it keeps them very open." But she said, "I will genuinely, if I go, wow, it's been really tough lately, I will say that to my staff. I will not play the bulletproof manager, and
Mm,
I will say." Hey Rodney, I don't know about you, mate, but boy, I've really struggled the last couple of months. It's been flat out. How have
yeah,
you been going?
yeah.
And with that, that person who reports to them is going, wow, my boss just confided that sometimes they get stressed.
Yeah.
Um, and it gives that person permission to go, well, if you've just told me, I'm exactly like you, blah, blah, blah. And you can just fall into that conversation without it feeling anything's forced or I have to have a chat with you. And this woman, she said, I do it. You know, we might have 5 minutes, or sometimes it goes on, or sometimes you go, hey, I tell you, could we pick that up? Why don't we grab a sandwich at lunchtime? Because we're flat out at the moment, blah, blah. And I just thought it's a really nice thing to be able to do. Go, hey, because I think for management, um, even nowadays, managers like to be seen to have all the answers, to be bulletproof. I'm the first one in, I'm the last one out. I do this, I eat at lunch at my desk or whatever. Um, and sometimes to have your boss or a senior manager or whatever confide that, oh, things aren't always 100% for me, gives permission to other people down the line to go, well, they're not 100% for me. And I'll just give you a very quick example. I speak, this is years ago now, speaking to an energy company based in Brisbane. They do a lot of work out near Roma and Miles and Chinchilla out in Queensland. And I gave a talk. At the end of it, one of the guys put his hand up. He's a really big guy. And he went, do you mind if I say something? I went, go on up. And he literally, big man, he's shaking. His hands, like he's obviously really nervous. I thought, oh, this guy doesn't talk much. And he said, last year I was living in the States for 6 months, um, and I got really bad. Uh, I just felt really, really bad. He said, so I went and consulted a psychologist, and it was great. And she really helped me. And I just want to say to anybody here, if you ever feel like that, reach out because professionals can help you. This is not something to be embarrassed about. I went, oh, thank you, that's fantastic. And he walked away. Anyway, about half an hour later, the guy that had organised the talk went, you don't know who that bloke was, do you? I went, no, I wouldn't have a clue. He said, that's the CEO. He said, nobody's ever seen him like that. He is the guy that can walk into a room, command the room, talk off the cuff. He said he's the guy when the government was going after all the gas companies about pricing and like the cost of domestic gas and stuff. He was one of the crew that used to have to go down to speak to the government and meet up. Like, he's a real high flyer. And they went, and the next day I flew out to Roma to go to one of their centres and speak to some of the guys out of the field. And they all wanted to know, they go, is it true? Is it true? Did so and so say so and so? And I, yeah, yeah. It was the best thing that probably ever happened
Yeah.
to anybody in that company because they go, the big, big wig just confided in everybody yesterday and went, yeah, I've had really tough times and I needed help. It was brilliant.
So how do we encapsulate that as a sticker note that I can put on my computer as a manager? What's
Uh,
the sentence?
I use a line ago, people want to work for people, not robots. And or you are a person, not a job description. Uh,
Hmm.
because people, I think, and it's a very natural thing, but we do get caught up. Like, strip away all the bullshit, no matter what level you are, you're still basically a human, have all the same problems. Probably the further up the line, the more pressure you got on you, the more likely you might be predisposed to have an illness or whatever. Um, but I think people have this preconceived idea of how they should look to other people. Whereas I think, I think you only just have to look back. But the managers I've always responded to are the ones that would be open with you. I'm not saying they
Be real.
bled on your, on your carpet sort of thing, but the ones who
Yeah.
could be real and acknowledge things, and you felt comfortable to be able to talk about things
Hmm.
without them thinking, without you thinking they're going to think I'm really weak, or
Yeah.
wow, this could be dangerous for my job. Um, but who I actually think it's that's a sign of brave people and strong, confident people that can actually do that, as opposed to hide behind a mask of everything's fine, nothing
Yeah.
worried.
Now, on that subject, so how do we go about? So I'm going to make a reflection, and this is my opinion. I've got no data to support it, but it seems to me that leadership is a byproduct of my skill set. So I'm a great accountant, so I work my way up the ladder, and eventually I'm in charge of 20 accountants. And whilst I'm an amazing accountant, I've never spent 5 minutes learning leadership.
Yeah, yeah.
But now I'm the manager of 20 leaders who I want to teach to be accountants, not leaders.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so I look at commerce at the moment and go, we've got great skills leading, but we haven't somehow invested enough conscious investment in this thing of leadership, the skill set of leadership.
Yeah, I think, look, I think you see that time and time again. The one field I often hear this is going engineering, where, and if you speak with a big engineering company and the HR people always go, the guys are really great, but they're clinically minded. You know, they go, mm-hmm, everything's logical. It has this outcome.
Yeah.
And but sometimes, and it's not to say, it sounds like you're saying they're really cold buggers, um, but often their emotional IQ is not that strong. But the one interesting that I've found throughout the years is I think the guys, and by guys, I don't mean men, I mean guys, men and women, but the guys who do the blue collar stuff, the like the miners and stuff, have better emotional IQs. And I think that is because they're consistently working in teams. If you're a miner, you don't work by yourself. They don't go say, go down to that mine over there and spend the whole day just by yourself doing something. You're
Mm.
working in with other miners to get something happening, or you're going to have drilling, or you know, uh, blasting or whatever today. So you're all going to be working together. Whereas in a lot of white collar, you could be in KPMG, or you could be in a huge law firm or a big engineering firm, and often you don't have to work that closely with other people because your output is your output.
Yeah.
So sometimes, especially the people right up top ends of finance, law, all that sort of thing. Now, this is a wide stereotyping,
Yeah.
but often don't have the same emotional IQ as other people that go, well, I if I don't have that, and I'm really pissing Rodney off, and that the team's not going to function well, so we've all got to find out ways to work together.
One of my pet projects, I guess, is this idea of finding enough grace for myself. So we can listen to this podcast and we might even be quite effective to go down to the pub and find space to speak to our friend and ask them how they're doing and all that. I would find statistically that would be easier done than finding the grace to have a conversation with myself.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
Rodney,
yeah, yeah.
how's it going? So, what words of wisdom do you have for the persons listening that goes, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, but I'm not fine.
Geez, that's a good question. um, Look, I think that's probably a state of normality for a lot of people. Is that yeah, I'm 80% fine. I'm 20% not quite fine. Um, I think it's just that ability to be a bit more open. I'm not saying that I have to reach out to people. Oh, I'm not being feeling great lately, but uh, here's where I think, especially for men, this is a great one. Sometimes people are not always in a position where they feel like going, "Oh yeah, I've got to ask somebody, are you okay?" or any equivalent of that. I'm not worried that my mate is suicidal or that, but sometimes sometimes rather than saying things like I'm waiting for things to be bad and then going, "Hey mate, are you okay?" and all that, is to go, "You're okay by me." And by what I mean by that is sheer simple gratitude, and that can be being at a pub or out for lunch with a mate or something, and just saying things as simple as, "Mate, you are the funniest bastard I know." I just love your sense of humor. You don't have to make it any more than that. It's just every now and then, all those things that we take for granted. And I'm not talking about making yourself mushy and people go, oh God, here they go again.
Yeah.
but just acknowledging some of those things that you find good in people to go, mate, I got to say, I really appreciated the way you did that, or you backed me on that. That was really good of you. Because those things just strengthen bonds. And they also, like, there's nobody, I believe, that doesn't like a bit of gratitude, that doesn't like a pat on the back or a compliment or
Yeah.
whatever. And if you're doing that genuinely, and I'm not talking about every day and finding something to compliment something, that's a lovely pair of shoes you're wearing today. I'm just talking genuine stuff.
Yeah.
I think that goes a long, long way for people to go, "Ah, we're good mates.
Yeah.
We can talk about stuff if we need to."
I think if you're listening, it's almost like having a bit of a game plan. Like here's I'll call it my toolbox. I've got a few questions in my toolbox. If and if in the conversation I think this is a good time, I'll reach in and go, "You're okay by me," or
Yeah, yeah,
"I've
yeah.
I've noticed you slow down. Do you want to talk about something?" Or whatever those toolbox questions is. But then I also want to encourage you to show yourself that same grace. Ask those same questions of yourself in the quiet of the moment and just go, am I okay? Or what story am I selling myself to make
Yeah,
it
yeah.
okay?
That's a nice way to look at it. And I don't think many of us do.
Yes.
Yeah. But it is giving yourself that few minutes to go, how am I tracking?
Mm,
And I don't mean financially or career or whatever, but how am I tracking just feeling and going well? I think that's half the battle too, because when people get, for example, a mental illness, often the first time it happens to them, they've got no benchmark. So they've got no idea. And often people don't do anything about it because they just don't quite understand what the hell's happening.
yeah.
And for the ability to be able to sit back and go, hmm, uh, I, I don't know, but I don't feel as good as I did a month ago.
Yeah.
That ability to give yourself that breather is a really important thing.
Yeah. I think it also then equips us for the conversation with our mate then, because like you say, you've got a benchmark. You've got, oh, gee, when I asked myself that question, this is what I had to deal with.
Yes, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I've got something to bring to the story. David, just as we sort of come to the end, if you wanted to leave people with a truth about mental health, like a nugget, what's the nugget you leave them with?
The one that took a long while for me and it really is this, that often when you're going through a mental health issue, you are really harsh on yourself. You don't need other people to tell you you're pathetic or weak or hypochondriac or whatever, because you just do that to yourself. People, it's called self-stigmatization. You
Yeah.
just whip yourself and whip yourself. And and the sad thing is, because it's your mind telling you this stuff, you tend to believe it.
Yeah.
I would say the biggest thing you can understand is that when you go through, whether it's depression or anxiety or something more major, um, you're not weak. It actually takes I'm not an AFL fan by any stretch of the imagination, but I do take my hat off to oh, Buddy Franklin, the like kicked 1,000 goals or something in his career. He took a whole season off to deal with his mental health. Greg Inglis, like very open about dealing with substance abuse.
Mm.
Like these people, you don't look at them and go, they're weak.
Yeah, that's right.
You look at these people, Churchill and all, you don't look, none of those people do you look at and go, they're weak. You go, amazingly successful people. And then when you look at the other stuff, you go, God, they must have been strong to get
Mm.
through that stuff and
Mm.
come out the other side and still be successful. So I think that for me is the biggest one is it's so easy to whip yourself and go, I'm pathetic.
Yeah.
I'm useless. But to have the ability to go, it's like the devil and the angel.
Yeah.
The devil's telling you you're crap. And sometimes you've got to sit back and let that guy talk and go, no, you're not. You're just going through an illness. You're going through something really tough in life.
Yeah. And if you are listening and you're struggling with that and you go, "Well, I don't know how to stop whipping myself to keep the same language," I always recommend asking yourself what you would say to a friend who's saying that. And then you will find out what the good guy is saying as opposed to the bad guy.
That's a really nice way to put it. That's a really good way because you say right. You'd never say that to a mate.
Yeah, that's right. You just wouldn't
Yeah,
do it.
yeah, exactly.
And you get the same, you're still dealing with the same data. Nothing's changed, but you've shown a bit of grace. And I think we just need a bit of grace. And grace will give us bravery again to look internally and go, okay, what do I need to do better and how?
Yeah, yeah.
Now, David, if someone likes your story and likes what you're about, what are the sort of services you offer and where does someone find you?
Well, I do wide range of. I'm not a psychologist, but I do a wide range of mental health training, talks, and of course for bigger companies, I do now doing mental health on tap, which is the coasters. I guess the easiest way to find me would be to connect through LinkedIn, really.
Very good. So if you're not connected to David and you connected to me, you just look into my contacts and David Westgate, and the connection will be there. David, I really appreciate your time, sir, and thank you very much. And
Not at all, Rodney. It's been an absolute pleasure, mate.
thank you for listening to today's episode of Your Truth Explored. If today's episode resonated with you, please take a moment to follow the podcast and share it with someone who might benefit from the conversation. Your support helps these messages reach the people who need them most. If you'd like to explore your own truths more deeply, you're welcome to connect with me at yourtruthservices.com.au about coaching or counseling bookings. Also available on that website is our other resources such as music, books, and videos. Until next time, take care and stay connected to your truth.